How is everybody doing today? Okay, so it's everybody's listening, everybody's good, everybody had a great day, I hope. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock. We're gonna start right away so we can start making a little bit of a headway. So today is Thursday, is the last day of this week. There's no class tomorrow, no one has to, you guys can do whatever you want, drink, it's fine. Um, and yeah, I hope that you guys also take the chance, take the time to go over the material for this week. I'm going to be sending you the copy of the PowerPoint presentation, so you guys can go over that too. At the same time, I will be available if anyone has any questions. I encourage you guys to finish up the quizzes of the program, at least to the point where we are today. Okay, so we are also, um, kind of getting ahead on that part with the program and the quizzes. Okay, I will also be continue sending stuff, posting stuff in the group chat in WhatsApp for you guys. Just so you know, I also post questions. I posted a question yesterday, no one answered it yet. So that question that I posted on the chat is for you guys to actually say A, B, C, or D. Uh, so I just want to go over a few things from the actual chat. Let me just go over that. Today I posted, besides the class from last night, I also posted 3 forms that I wanted you guys to go over. I don't know if anyone had a chance to do it, but we're gonna do that quickly right now. Let me just share it with you right here. Okay, so the first one I sent was an exclusive buyer agency agreement. You guys can see that right now on the screen. This is an actual contract, and this is what you give to a person that comes to you and says, "Oh, I would like to buy a house." Once you qualify that person, which is something we're gonna learn in probably next week, once you can actually um, be confident that that person has the means to buy a property, then you're gonna give them this paper, this contract, where this it's a contract between you or your agency, the one that you're gonna be working for, and the client in this case. And basically, it's a regular contract. It shows a date. It's an agreement between two parts to commit to do something in exchange for something. Okay, and as you can see, you talk about the general description of what the property that the person will be looking, or something similar. I mean, something close, because of course, I mean, it's not going to be exactly. Hopefully, it will be, but not all the time. It's exactly what they're asking for. Okay. Also, very important, the term of the agreement means when is it going to start and when is it going to end. So usually, it goes between 3 6 months or something, around that time. That means that the buyer, your client, commits to have you as, in this case, in this kind of contract, as an exclusive agent. Okay, we're going to be talking about exclusivity today. Also, there are other terms. I mean, most of the stuff here is stuff from contract. So it's a link on the chat that you guys can use. As I said, the same thing I told you about the law, which by the way I haven't posted. I keep forgetting. We'll do it tonight. You guys this weekend, can you take the time and go over? When you are not too busy this weekend. Okay. All right. So this is the buyer agency agreement. Now I will just go to the second one and look at this. Who was that? Oh, Simone just posted now. Simone just answered the question now. Okay, great. Thanks. All right. So this one is an exclusive right to sell listing agreement. All right. So the same thing. It has different terms, but it's an agency creation between you and your client. Okay. So the same thing. Go over. Take a look at it. Look at the little things, the little words. All right. And the last one that I posted was the rental agreement. Okay. So when someone is interested in renting an apartment, renting a house, this is the kind of agreement that you're going to be using. As you can see, it says on top on the right, uh, on the top right, it says New York State MLS. So it's kind of a current standard form for the multiple listing service. Okay, in New York State. Right. So let's see what else we have to go. I think that was pretty much it. So we're gonna be going actually now. Uh, let me just see. We were here. Okay, yesterday. We're going back to the slides. No one has any questions before I start today? We good? All right. So let's
I
see.
have a quick question. Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
In terms of the quizzes, should we be on 3A or 3B? Where should we
3A
be?
or 3B. Well, we can go by the actual. Do you have it open on your side? Because
Yeah.
yeah. What's the name of the on the? What does it say on 3B?
Agency basics.
Okay,
Part
agency.
2.
Right. So I think yesterday we did part 1. So today we're gonna be covering part 2, and we're also gonna be covering um, we're gonna we're gonna be going up to property basics, I believe. Well, you see here on this screen it says agency basics
Yeah.
on top. So yeah, so that's how I kind of um know where I am in terms of the quizzes.
Okay.
So I don't, of course, I don't put 1 or 2 because it's subdivided in 2. But uh, I think today we're gonna be finishing with agency basics, so you can finish the second part, and we're gonna be going up to today. It will be property basics. So everything until property basics you can start doing. You can finish up all those quizzes. All right. So
Okay, thanks.
after tonight, great. Okay, so we're gonna be, let me just go back to today. So, perfect. So yesterday, let me just open this up. Yesterday, we started talking about the unethical and illegal actions that happens. And you remember that we mentioned constructive fraud to refer to an act that the law deems as fraudulent. So as you say, we're going to be working with properties, we're going to be working with people's money, and there is, many deceiving people out there that may try to do the, certain things just to get the transaction done really quick. It can be on either side. It can be a person that has a buyer, it can be a person that has a seller. But the law is very serious about this because you, as an agent, it's going to be responsible. Are you going to be responsible if you fail to disclose certain information that somehow can harm one of the parts? Okay, that's why I was talking about your level of obedience has a limit. It's not like, okay, a person comes and is contracting you, it's agreeing with you to give you to become, as we said, a special agent for them, but that doesn't mean that you have to go over your ethical way of being, because at the end you're also going to be affected by that. So we spoke about constructive fraud, and it's defined as the act that the law deems is fraudulent. So intent to deceive does not have to be proven. So what that means is, if someone comes to a house and you are not sure about something, let's say someone walks into a basement and they see water, and you do not know that if it's water coming through the wall or it's water coming through the kitchen above, but you say, oh, no, no, don't worry, that's just water coming from the kitchen. It's true that you may not know, but it's illegal that you make an assumption. So you're just trying to get the job done by telling this person that not to worry about something that maybe that person has to be concerned about. And that's what it means by constructive fraud. Okay. We also have, another term uh, that we use is called a material fact. And it says that in real estate is information that, if it's known, may cause a buyer to make a different decision about remaining in a purchase contract or to the price paid or received for the property. So these are the kind of things that when we talk about disclosing of certain situations that may happen. So you have certain material facts that that your customer needs to know. Okay, but there are others that it's not necessary. Like, let's say you are selling a house where there was a homicide. That's not a material fact, because in reality that doesn't affect the person that is buying the property, right? That's not going to affect them. Even if the person selling it says, oh yeah, I have ghosts here at night, it's not. In reality, it's not a material fact. It's not a door that it keeps falling off. It's not that the house is going sideways every year or something like that. You understand? So that's the difference between something that you have to be very honest with your customer. Of course, remember, the customer is not your client. The client is the person that hires you, but the customer is the person that you're going to be using to provide your client with what he needs. In this case, either buying a house or selling a house. Okay, there are two types of defects. So we have one that is called patent defects and one that is called latent defects. So the patent defects in real estate, it's the one that you can actually see. Okay, the one that, as I keep mentioning, the water, because it's something that, sometimes it's really common. If you walk into a house and you see there is water stains on the ceiling, you have to assume that there is a water leak on the roof, or maybe the AC system. Sorry. So that's something that you can see. A patent defect is something that you can see, right? Now, a latent defect is something that it's not something that you how can I call it? Like there is no way you can find out by entering a room and knowing that something is happening. All right. And I like for you guys to remember in case it comes out on the test. So latent defect is something that may happen after. So it's like the difference between patent and latent. Latent is like you can use the first letter. That means late. That comes from later. So just to remember that latent means something that happens after the fact. So it's something that may arise after the person did already signed the purchase contract or already bought the house. So you show a basement, the basement looks dry, everything looks beautiful, and then the person buys the property, and 1 month after the person is in the property, the basement gets filled up with water. All right, and there was no way you actually were able to see that. So you're on a line because you didn't know. In the example that we're looking at here, we're actually showing how certain situations can tell you when there is something not right. Like, we're looking at a basement that fills up with water, and certain details that may tell you, let's say you are actually going around a basement with a buyer, meaning that your customer would be the seller of the house. And the seller of the house tells you, oh yeah, the basement is dry, don't worry. Because that's like a question you always ask, how is the basement? Is it dry? If it's on the ground, if it's an underground basement. They say, oh yeah, it's dry. But as you can see here, there are certain signs that tell you that something is not right. So when you walk in and you smell like dampness, when you walk in and you see like loose tiles, maybe rusty baseboards, walls that have been patched, even like the furniture that you see like they put it on top of something, something is not right. All right. So there's certain things, but the most important terms to remember is the fact that these are latent defects and the other ones are patent defects. All right. So let's see. Just to the last section of agency basics is the types of listing that you're going to be working with, because not everybody will be looking to do the same thing in terms of Contracts. So we're going to start with the open listings. And the open listings are the most common type. Under an open listing, the property owners offers a real estate broker a commission, usually a percentage of the sale, if the property is sold. But very careful with this one because an open listing allows any broker to sell the property and collect the commission. Okay. But all open listings are canceled once the property sells, so the owner does not have to pay a commission to more than one broker. So what does that mean? That means that, let's say I have a house and I want to sell it, and I say, okay, I'm gonna put out an open listing, okay, but I'm not gonna commit myself to anyone. So if Simon comes to me and say, hey, listen, I have a buyer. Do you pay a commission? I say, yeah, of course. So Simon brings a buyer, but I don't have any kind of agreement with Simon. Simon brings a buyer to me. So if Simon's buyer likes the property, then I will pay Simon a commission. But if Simon buyer doesn't buy the property and walks away, and then Johnny comes and and brings another buyer, then I have to pay the commission to Johnny. Okay, that's what the term open means, that I don't have an actual commitment with anyone. Okay, now when we talk about exclusive agency listings, as you can see, the word exclusive means that you give exclusivity to a single person or company. Okay, under these listings, only one broker is employed and collects commission when the property sells. Now, one of the things that happens with the open listings is also that, let's say I have an open listing and I hire, well, I don't hire, I tell Simon, okay, listen, I want to sell my house, but I want to have an open listing. What the other thing that can happen is that, Simone makes all the effort. She brings 30 clients, and she's spending gas, she's spending time, she's spending money. And let's say, everybody's taking their sweet time to make a commitment, to make a decision on buying a house. In the meanwhile, Johnny, who is my next door neighbor, comes to me and says, Manny, I really like your house. I see that you're selling it. I want to make an offer. I like the offer that Johnny's offering me. And I say, yeah, of course. When when Johnny buys the property from me, since I have an open listing, I don't have to pay nothing to Simone because I have an open listing. I don't have a commitment with Simone. All right. So most people likes the exclusive listing, most agents, because it gives you a guarantee that all your effort at the end is going to pay. All right. So exclusive means that even if Johnny comes to me and Simone has shown the property once, Johnny comes to me, or let's say Simone didn't show the property at all. I signed today, and Simone went out to get people, and in the meanwhile, Johnny walks in and says, "Listen, I want to buy your house." That means I still have to pay Simone a commission because I signed up an exclusive agreement with her. Okay, so that's the difference. Now, there's something called also exclusive right to sell listings. These listings allow the employed broker to earn commission from a sale regardless of who sells the property. Now, it sounds very uh, similar. Well, the difference is, listen to this one. These arrangements usually deters other brokers from trying to sell the property listed and ensures that the exclusive brokers puts forth a good effort to sell the real estate. So we have exclusive agency listings, okay? And then you have exclusive right to sell listings. So the difference here is going to be that only one person has the right to sell a property, only one agent, okay? So as I said, and it says it over here too, when you offer an exclusive listing, or many agents do not want to get anything other than exclusive listing, because then they feel like, I can do all this effort and then somebody else can just walk in and sell the property and I don't get a commission. Even the owner can sell the property. All right. So net listings. Well, as it shows, as it sounds, net means what you get when you paid everything else, right? That's what it sounds like. So net listings, first of all, you must know that it's illegal in the state of New York. So this doesn't happen here. This is what it's not supposed to happen here. Okay. Just so you know, net listing is illegal in the state of New York. It means that when an owner sets an amount of money that they wish to gain from the sale of a property. So I am moving out of New York and I have a house, but it's it's a house that I have that I use for hanging out sometimes. I don't really care, so I just want to get it out of my hands. And I tell Simon, listen, I will just get me. I just want 400. Whatever you can get me over 400 is yours. Simone is gonna go there and put the house for 600 and sell it for 550 and get $150,000 in commission because that's the deal that I have with her. All right, but that's illegal in New York. Okay, since it's illegal, it's not enforceable in court. So if Simone sells the house for $550,000, and I said, "You crazy? You think I was really gonna give you $150,000? Just take your 6%. I give you $30,000 and see you tomorrow." Then Simone is gonna try to take me to court, and in court they're gonna tell her, "Well, but this is illegal, so it's not. It cannot be enforced." All right. So net listing is not legal in the state of New York. All right, we already went to open listings, multiple listing service, MLS. So once you get your real estate license, you most likely gonna become an MLS member, gonna be a member of the multiple listing services of the state of New York. In some situations, multiple brokers agree to work together to sell real estate and in turn agreed to split the commission from any sales. Each multiple listing service has different terms and conditions with regard to fees that members pay and commissions earned, depending on who sells the property. So, as you probably already know, multiple listing services, it's a way of all brokers coming together and showing what they have or what's coming to the market, and it's a very convenient way of getting descriptions for property. You get a lot of information about certain properties that you may not find online. Right now you have so many other websites like Realtor, Trulia, Zillow, and others that gives you a lot of information. The issue with those sites is that most of the time they don't have accurate or up-to-date information on the properties they're offering. So many times you might be calling someone about a house and they tell you, "Oh no, the house sold 2 months ago." All right. So MLS, it's different because it has up-to-date information on it. All right. So, okay. So you must be wondering what happens then. We talk about the agreements. We spoke about the agreements. We spoke about um, different contracts that we're going to be having with our clients. But what are the situations in which we're gonna be finishing these agreements with these contracts? How can we come to an end to terminate these contracts? What can happen? There are certain situations that can happen. Uh, the one that everybody wants is that the mission or goal is accomplished. That you actually completed the goal for which you were hired, which is either selling a house, buying a house for your client, or renting an apartment or a house for your client. All right. That's when your responsibility ends at that point in terms of the contract. Now, you as an agent may terminate the agreement if it, as I mentioned earlier, if it violates um, your ethical action. If your client asks you to do something that you don't think is proper, then you say, "Listen, I'm sorry, but I need to finish this right now. I cannot work for you." All right. It can be the opposite. It can be that the your client doesn't feel comfortable with the way how you do business, and they think they wanna just walk away and get or hire someone else. And that's when the principal or client terminates the agreement. All right. We have the time limit, as we saw on the contracts. Some of these, all of them, have a beginning and an end. As I mentioned, that can be 3 months, can be 6 months, whatever time you think you need to put this property or put the property out on the market, or be able to feel comfortable looking for a property to buy. Okay, so if the time expires, then you have the right to say, okay, so the time expires. I don't want to renovate. I don't want to update it. So I just want to finish it up over here. All right. It can be also when both of you decide not to continue for whatever reason. Okay, maybe you guys fall in love and you don't want to mix job, work with pleasure. And the last one that shows there is the operation of law, which means that certain things can happen out of your hand as an agent that finish it. Let's say a person has a house that they're selling, the house is in foreclosure, and they try to sell the house before it goes to court, before it goes to auction, and they were not able to, and then the court decides that they're gonna, auction the house, and the house get auctioned, and then the house is taken. So since the owner doesn't have a house, the agent cannot sell the house. All right. So those are the ways in which an agreement can end. All right. Um, let's see what else we have. Okay, so that was the end of agency basics. Okay, so now we're gonna be jumping into property basics, another subject. So what do we see here? It looks like an asteroid, but it has grass on it. So it's a piece of land, okay, to express that this, what we see on the screen is land, okay? It's land. And real estate is what we actually get when we put something on that land. When we actually start putting stuff on the land, when we actually start putting properties, like structures, or even if we put a fence to make like a farm. All right, that then we're talking about real estate. It's not just raw land; it's actually real estate. So let's look at this example over here. We have land on the top, which is defined as the materials of the earth, whether soil, rock, or other substances. Okay, so the land can include trees, bushes, grass, boulders, and that kind of stuff. But that's the raw land. That's the land by itself. Okay, now when we take that same land and we start adding houses and fences, then we are talking about stuff that is permanently attached to the land, and that's what we call real estate. So real estate is considered land plus the improvements. So land plus improvement is what we call real estate. Now, that real estate, okay, without what we call the bundles of rights with what we call the bundles of rights is what we call real property. Okay, so we have land, we have real estate, and we have real property. In real property, it's what we get when we put together a piece of real estate with rights, or with what we call the bundle of rights. And what are those rights? The rights are 5. Actually, I have a video, but I'm gonna post it on the chat. It's in Spanish. I'm gonna do the translation, but the video talks about the 5 rights that any person has, and the first right is the right of possession, and it means that you have the right to possess a property and use it for what you think is right for you. So you may have a piece of land that you want to use as a farm, but your neighbor may have a piece of land that want to use as have a park in there, or have a building, have a house or something. Okay, so that right of possession is what allows you, within the limits of the law, of course, because the fact that you want to build something on your land cannot go over what's allowed to be built on that land. But if within those limits, you can build whatever it's doable within the zoning limits of the area. So that's what the right of possession allows you to do. The right of dispossession, the right to dispose, is the one that allows you to do whatever you think is right in terms of handing it out, or deeding it, or granting it to someone else. That means that if I buy a property and I want to give it to Simone, if I buy a property and I want to give it to Johnny, that's it. I have that right to do it. No one can tell me no, you cannot do that. You understand? So that's the second right. So I have right of possession, right of disposition. Okay. The right to use also, it's the one that refers to the fact that I can, how do you call it? Use the property in a way that I think is, um, it fits my needs. So if I have a property and I don't, uh, let me just think. I had a blank space in my memory right now, trying to come up with a good example, because this one sounds very similar to the right of possession. Let me, you know what? Let me just look at, open my video that I have that is very illustrated, right? Hold on one second. Okay, so here we go. Let me bring you guys back. All right, so, okay, here we go. All right, so as I say, it's in Spanish, but I'm gonna be doing the translation live. So here I'm talking about the five rights that a person has. So, I mean, a person, anyone that owns a property, right? So what we have here, the first one, hold on one second, this is me talking. All right, number one is right of possession. So it's the one that says that you have the right to do what you think works for you. So as I was mentioning the example of the farm, was saying that you can use the property for farming, for example, as long as it's allowed in that particular area where you are. Okay, that right of possession is what allows you to do what you think is proper for you. The second one is the right of quiet enjoyment, which means that you have the right to use that property and not being disturbed by somebody else. Okay, but remember, you don't have the right to disturb your neighbors. All right, you have the right to enjoy your property as long as it doesn't disturb your neighbors. Okay, the third one is the right of disposition, which refers to what I was talking about before. You can you can give your property, you can deed it, you can grant it to someone else, and no one can prohibit that. All right, you can give it to whoever you think, whoever you want. All right. The fourth one, it's the dun, 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 dun. Come on. The fourth one is the right of control. And what does this mean? This means that you have the right to say, okay, I will be, I don't remember this one actually, to be honest with you. Why is it? Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I think I got this. Oh, okay, 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 I got you. That's why this is the same one, the one that shows use on the thing. So the right of control refers to what you can do with the property in terms of the structure. So that's why we have this video here. So it means that you can, build a second floor, or you can do something with the basement as long as it's allowed to. The right of exclusion is the right that gives you or allows you to not to keep certain people out of your property. Okay, so that's what we call the right of exclusion. So you can just tell people, I don't want you in my house, I don't need you in my house, you can get out. That's a right that you have. So basically those are the five rights that we have. Sorry about that memory issue that I had. All right. Okay, so going back here, How we doing time-wise? Okay, we still have 10 minutes. We're doing good. All right, so we're gonna go once again for all five of them. Remember that I will be sending you a copy of this. So, you know, everything is gonna be there. All right, so we spoke about the rights that a person has, the bundle of rights, five bundles of rights that together with the real estate are the ones that talk about or refer to or give you a real property. So what that means is that if you have a real estate, a piece of real estate, but you don't have the bond of a right, then you don't really have much. You have an structure that you cannot give to someone else. You have an structure from who you cannot keep people out. You have an structure uh, in which you cannot build it the way you want, or you cannot do what with it what you want to do. You understand? So you need the bonds to right in order to enjoy, to actually feel that you own something. All right. So property basics. Oh, something else that happens when we own a property is that, and this we see as agents, and this is why we bring it up. It's that you own a property, and sometimes you even rent the property, and you want to start doing improvements in the property because it's yours. Even when you're renting something out, you think it's, oh, I'm gonna be here. I just signed the lease for a year, but from day one, you're thinking you're gonna spend your whole life there. So you start making holes. You start doing buying stuff and putting it in the walls, and this is what we call improvements. So what happens is that many times we, as agents, have to deal with situations when it comes to improvements that affect us, um, or actually affects either the buyer when we're representing the buyer, or affects the seller. And what happens is that many times the sellers of the house, they have stuff attached to the property, sometimes improvement that they did to the property that somehow they're planning on taking with them. And that's a little bit of a problem sometimes, because imagine you take a person around the house, the person looks at the house and they see it, beautiful. Oh my God, this house is really nice. For example, let's look at the screen and we see a picture of a house and it has what looks like a ceiling fan, right? But let's say the ceiling fan was built by the father of the seller, and I go around with the house, or showing the house to Simon, and Johnny didn't tell me that he's planning on taking the ceiling fan. So I show the house, and Simone looks at the fan, and she's already in her mind, in her brain, she's imagining herself sitting in that living room, enjoying of that nice breeze that fan is going to bring her. And she says, "Yes, I want this property." Not because of the fan, but because she likes the property. But within what she saw, there was a fan. So right after the closing, she goes back to the house and she realizes that the fan wasn't there, and she's like, "What happened with the fan? The fan is supposed to be here." And Johnny says to me, "No, the fan. I was taking the fan. I put the fan in there, and I want to take it." So that's an issue. And this happens many times. Specifically, I see it a lot with commercial properties where, let's say, someone comes and designs a bakery, for example. They start putting stuff on the wall. They start doing like ovens into the wall and all that kind of stuff. And the law says that you have to either leave the stuff attached to the floors, the walls, to the ceilings that you uh, bought for a particular property, or you have to leave the property just the way it was. Okay. So sometimes a person comes and they make all these holes all over. Then when they leave, they take everything out, but they also leave the holes. They leave the holes on the ceiling, they leave the holes in the walls, they leave the holes on the floor. And that's not right. That's not right, because the owner now has to start paying someone to fix all these holes, but specifically because the stuff that is attached to a property is supposed to stay attached to the property. Now the law has some exemptions, and it's to this kind of items, we call them fixtures or attachments. And what happens is that the law says that any fixture that is part of the regular business in the event of something commercial, um, if something is attached to the floor that is used for a specific trade, going back to the example of the baker, a bakery that needs to place a metal piece of tape, a metal table, to to do the bread, to do cookies or something like that. The law says that yes, that's a trade fixture and they're allowed to take it. But the same thing, you have to put the floor, the wall, the ceiling the way it was again. Now, however, let's say if something that is not part of a trade, then it needs to stay with the building. For example, every time we have, in my case, when we have a deli, sometimes they open these walls and they these rooms and they put what they call a walk-in fridge, a walk-in freezer. Those freezers where you have put the bottles on one side and people can actually pick them up from the other side. That's a big thing to build those things. It's a lot of money and they have to literally destroy a wall and all the stuff. So for them to take that out, it's a lot of work. It's not worth it. Uh, but also it destroys the property. So they might as well leave it there. All right. So, but that's not a trade fixture of a deli because the deli doesn't, they sell those bottles, those maybe those sodas, milk, whatever, but they don't build milk. I mean, they don't how you call it? It's not like their trade. It's something related to that specific machine. All right. So it has to be something. The law is very specific about trade fixtures. Okay. Uh, Another thing that people gets confused. I mean, we don't see it much here. We may see it with the small plants or very expensive plants, but it's something called emblements. And the law says that we have the right to um, take with us the emblements of a harvest or the harvest, but we don't have the right to take the plants. What that means is like in the example here, if this person is selling this farm, this person sells the farm and they can actually take all the corn that is already harvested, right? But they cannot take the whole plants. So they have the right to take all the little, I mean, the already harvested pieces of corn. And that's what we call emblements. Okay. We also talk about other types of rights that comes when you buy a property, and we define them as appurtenances, right? Appurtenances or accessories, and we call them like this because not everybody has these rights. Certain properties comes with it, some others don't. But we have three specific appurtenance rights, and those are, as we can see them here, air, water, and mineral rights. The first one is the air right and refers to whatever is above your property. As you know, whatever is above your house, your building, your farm, your land, from the top of the highest structure that you own to they define it as a safe distance up in the air. That means that you don't. It's not all the way to the sun. It's all the way until a safe distance. Let's say that a plane it's not going to interfere with the plane. So you own that. That comes with your property. You have what they call air rights. Okay, and air rights is what a person or a company acquires when you see those big banners on the middle of the highway that kind of overlap into the highway. That's override. I mean, that's air right. So for someone to do that, they actually had to either pay money to buy those rights, or lease the air rights from the company or the city or the state that is actually the owner of this section where the highway goes, for example, because they're over their banners is overlapping into the air rights of the highway. Uh, those that have been going over what is the lower east side when you go on the highway, the how do you call that? I forgot the name of it, but I know there's like a tunnels when you go down south, when you go into lower Manhattan. You know, you kind of go under tunnels, and then on top of those tunnels, there are buildings. So in order for those buildings to be built on top of the highway, they have to buy air rights on those in that situation, because I don't think leasing was the option at the time. But that's what air rights it stands for. The air rights are transferable, which means that you are all allowed to lease them, you are allowed to sell them to someone else, I'm sorry, all right? So air rights, and it's 8:46 people. So we're gonna leave it right here on the air rights for this night and this week, and we're gonna be jumping to our quiz of the night. All right, let me just anyone has any questions? I'm sorry. Johnny, Simon, Sulma.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So is an open listing the same as for sale by owner?
You can say that, yes, because what happens is that, like in my case, for example, when the company that I work for, when we have properties that belong to the company and we want to sell, we don't use a broker, of course, because I'm I one, but we don't use exclusive listing unless it's something very specific. Like, let's say we have very hard to sell warehouses, for example, that you need a broker that only specializes in industrial buildings. But other than that, we have open listings, which when a broker calls me about that particular building, I say, listen, it's an open listing. If you have a buyer, you can bring it over and you are entitled to your full commission. So yes, you can say that, as they call it, FSBO, or for sale by owner, is the same as an open listing. Now, the thing also is that you don't have, you can actually make an agreement with someone. Someone can come to you and say, oh, I want to show your property. And you say, okay, you can show your property. I can show your property, or you can show my property. But you remember that you have an open listing. Let's say if I live in Florida, right? And I want to sell the property, but I'm not in New York all the time. And I want to have someone actually doing that. And I call you and I said, listen, I want to sell this property, but I don't want to give you an exclusive listing. And you say, okay, no problem. Don't worry. If someone comes, I open the door for them. So yes, it's kind of the same. Anything else, Simone, Johnny? All right, so let me see, should we go? We're gonna try agency working with clients tonight because we didn't finish property basics. We're gonna try to do 1 or 2 questions of property basics, but I don't wanna get too much of it because I'm afraid we're gonna have some questions there we haven't spoken about yet. So we will go with working with clients part 2. And let me bring you guys here. All right, everybody's looking out. I'm gonna open the chat for you guys. Okay. Okay, so you guys, let me just bring this up a little bit so you guys can see there. Oops. Hold on 1 second. What did I just do? Okay, that's better. Okay, so which listing arrangement is illegal in New York? I said this earlier today. So Johnny says D, as in dog. Which listing arrangement is illegal in New York? Simone says D, and Carol says D. Sulma. Let's see, I have 3 Ds. Somebody else? We good? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We going with the D. Sulma says D. Okay, everybody's on the D. Okay, perfect. We're going to the next one, guys. Very well. Remember, net listing is when the agent pays the difference between the asking price and the selling price, and it's illegal in New York. Okay. Question. Who could not be a selling agent? This one is a little bit tricky. You're going to find tricky questions in the test. That's why we're having tricky questions now. So read the question. Who could not be a selling agent? First one is broker's agent, B, buyer's agent, C, sub-agent, and D, all of these could be a selling agent. Now, sub-agent is a person that works under someone. So it's like the agent of a broker or someone that works under a broker. Okay, do I have a A? Do I have a B? Do I have a C? Do I have a D? Anyone? All right, I have a B. I have a B from Carol. She says that a buyer's agent cannot be a selling agent. Anybody else? Who could not be a, okay, I have 3 B's, so I'm gonna go with the B. All of you guys say the buyer's agent cannot be a selling agent. The answer is D. Okay, remember we're talking about tricky questions here. So the D is all of this could be a selling agent. So the selling agent is the one who procured a buyer. Any of these could be a selling agent. So a broker's agent, right, is the agent that works for the broker. Okay, so it can be you guys, any of you guys, when you get your license. The buyer's agent is the person that works for the buyer, right? A sub-agent is the person that works under someone else. So I can have a sub-agent, right? But Simone can be a sub-agent of Johnny. Now, anyone can be a selling agent because in reality, you can be a, as it says here, the selling agent is the one who procured a buyer. Okay, so the buyer's agent, it's a selling agent. Broker's agent can be a selling agent, and the sub-agent, because it doesn't define what they are. The only one that defines is the actual buyer's agent, the one that is bringing the buyer. So all of them could be selling agent. Tricky question. What is the name of the contract between a buyer and the seller? Meaning when they both get together and they say, okay, let's do it. Let's, one says, I'm going to sell you the property. The other one says, I'm going to buy you the property. So how do you call that kind of contract? Okay. All right, so I have D, sales contract, all right? Very well, guys, very well. All right, so this one we spoke at the very beginning of the class, and it talks about, what happens, certain situation, illegal, unethical situation. So listen very carefully. When showing a listing, a sales agent is asked about the condition of the basement. Without having seen the basement, listen very well, without having seen the basement, the agent states that to the best of his knowledge, the basement is free of dampness. In fact, the basement leaks. Sorry, let me just stop over there. The basement is free of dampness. In fact, the basement leaks steadily whenever it rains. The agent most likely has committed A, fraud, B, intentional misrepresentation, C, misrepresentation, D, no error, this is protecting the homeowner's interest. Okay, so I have here A, B, and C. Is that the last one? I'm confused because this chat is kind of far out. All right, so I'm going to, okay, I have a C from Simone, an A from Carol, and a B from Tanya. So Sulma is in charge of breaking the tie. I have A, B, and C. A, B, C, D. Sulma, you're in charge of breaking. So A, B, C, B, A, C. Anyone? All right, I'm gonna go with the first letter then. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The first letter was the B from Johnny. So I will go with intentional misrepresentation. Okay, let's see. Incorrect. The answer was the C. Simone wins. All right, so Simone said misrepresentation. The answer is C. The agent has misrepresented the condition of the property and is therefore negligent. Fraud is an intentional misrepresentation. While the sales agent did not intentionally misrepresent the condition of the basement, he should have exercised reasonable care and viewed the basement before making any statement concerning its condition. So, yeah, Johnny?
Could it be considered intentional if he's trying to get the sale and he doesn't want to report that?
Yeah, but once again, let's look at the questions. Let's read the questions. This question says that he hasn't seen the basement. He brings it up. It says he hasn't seen the basement.
Yeah,
So,
I get that.
So in this particular case, it's a misrepresentation because he's not doing it on purpose. He's not, he doesn't know that there is a leak. He never went to the basement. So he's kind of negligent. It's not that, of course he wants to, make it happen, but maybe if he knew that it was a water leak, he would have, think differently. And that's why in the answer says that you're supposed to exercise reasonable care when doing a transaction, when either selling a property or trying to purchase a property for your client. Okay, so all right, so let's go with the next one. A condition of or contingency in a contract can be waived by hold on one second. A condition in a contract. Okay, so this one refers to a situation in a contract, like if something in a contract, any kind of contingency that has to happen, or any kind of condition in the contract, I'm sorry, that you and your client agreed to originally. If both of you originally agreed to something, how can it be waived? Meaning, how can you just go by without thinking about it? So I have two D's right here, right now. Can be waived by the party benefiting from the condition. Johnny, you have an answer on this? Sulma? All right, I'm gonna go with the D. Two D's, I'm gonna go with D. Correct, perfect. Answer is D. All right. The party benefiting from or being protected by a condition or contingency in a contract can waive it But if a condition is included for the benefit of both parties, neither can waive it without the other's consent. All right, both of you have to agree to it. All right, so I will jump. Just take still 2 minutes from you guys to go to the beginning of property basics and just do 2 questions from here, okay? Okay. Property basics. Let me go to the end, lesson quiz. All right, so we're gonna do 2 on these ones. Okay, perfect. There's actually 1 here. All right. This one refers to the last part of property basics that we saw tonight, the bundles of rights. So it says, Garrett inherits a plot of land from Jesse. A year later, he sells half of the property to Kim. A year later, she gives her half to Alex, who sells the mineral rights. We haven't seen the mineral rights yet. We're going to see them next week. But which property right is represented by this series of events? So read the question, see what's happening, and figure out which of the right it's being used. I have a C from Simon, the right of possession. Oh, wait. I get confused. So I have, okay, yeah, that was Simon was the first one, C. I have a C from Simon, the right of possession. Anyone else? So look at what happens here. Read the question. So I have, Johnny says C, as in Charles. Look at what happens here, people. You have a person that inherited a piece of land, then that person sold it to someone else, then that other person gave it to someone else. Okay? So the property right, which property right is represented by this series of events? So I have 2 B's. I have Karel and Zulma. So I have people, 2 C's and 2 B's. So wow, what am I gonna do? All right, so I'm gonna go with the first 2 letters, or the first letter, which was a C, since there is a tie. Since there was a C, right of possession. Let's see what happens. It's incorrect, and the answer is B. So Zulma and Karel. The answer is B, correct. It's disposition. So Johnny and Simon, disposition. We're talking about someone that inherits a piece of land, then that person disposes of their property and sells it to someone else. Then that other person disposes of that property because they have the right to do it and give it to someone else. So that's the right of disposition, okay? Remember, the right of possession allows you to use the property for whatever use you want. You can do a farm, you can do a club, you can do a pool, as long as it's allowed by the local laws. Let's do one more. All right, let's try this one. This also we spoke at the end. It's a little bit confusing. We're going to be talking more about the next one, but I'm going to see what happens. This is the last one of the night, people. Today is the last day of this week. So let's close with high grades. So which elements cannot be separated from the real property? Remember, the real property, it's bundles of right, real estate. It's what form real property. So we talk about appurtenances, remember? Talk about the tree, the air rights. We didn't talk about the water rights. We didn't talk about the mineral rights. Bundles of rights, fructus naturalis. Fructus naturalis is plants that you may have in your property. And a house. A house meaning a structure, right? The actual, how did it look on the picture? All right, hold on. I have a few things here. I have Simon says B, Zulma says B, and Johnny says B. So we're gonna go with the B. You guys are saying that they cannot be separated from real property. Everybody says, we go, papa. Perfect, B. Okay, guys, you did it right. So thank you so much. This is the first week. We have 4 weeks left. It's 18 days left. Let me see, 18 or 17, 17 days. All right. You're doing great, Simone, Johnny, perfect. Thank you very much. Let's work on those quizzes. If you guys don't want, you don't have to do property basics unless you feel like, but do everything until property basics when it comes to the quizzes, okay? Have a great day, have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and we're gonna be seeing each other on Friday. Sulma, thank you so much for coming tonight, and Coral Vanesland, thank you so much. Johnny, I see you guys soon. All right, be in touch.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
You
Take
too,
care.
thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.